Hi, I'm Chris and we are JCD. In this week's episode, I'm recovering from my short holiday in Spain. We have a super interesting podcast guest and we finally get an update from Peugeot about our missing drainage van. Let's roll the footage. What is happening, Team JCD? We have made it to Monday, and as you guys know, the keen viewers of you, and that should be everybody by now, as I always say, I was away the back end of last week. My friend's got a place in Spain, and we went out there to play some golf. So I'll be honest with you guys, today has been a little bit of a non-starter. Got back late yesterday, about 11:15. Time I messed around, it was 12 o'clock. So I'm probably, well, I'm not probably, going to be having an admin day today. Since I went away, there's been a few progressions. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago about some of the exciting drainage work that we've got coming up. I've had varying bits of paperwork for that. And I'm actually in discussions with a couple of other people potentially about joining the drainage team. It's only early discussions yet, not jumping ahead just yet. I'm waiting for till these jobs progress even further. What I can't have is obviously Mitchell will be taken away and effectively all the reactive work that comes in we will have to then pick up and deal with. So we're going to definitely need more bodies, especially if this London piece comes up. So in terms of the weekend, that was good. Done some networking while I was there, although it wasn't really for that. It just coincides that a couple of the people there, they had their own businesses and they work in similar fields to us. One of them works with HVAC, which is ventilation and aircon. And they use a cleaning company sometimes to clean down their assets so that their engineers can work on them when they've had pigeon guano on them. We've done a job like that at Loch Meadow. Click here if you haven't seen that video. We've done a video on that. So that was useful. The only problem with going away and drinking and, drinking more than I would, I mean, I'm not a big drinker when it comes to being at home, is just the lethargic feeling after. And I'll put that down to interrupted and lack of sleep generally, but it just makes you a bit bit down in the dumps. So that's why I tend to, or try not to do that as much as I can. Me and Adam have got lots of podcasts coming up. We've actually got one on Wednesday this week with Adam Cowper-Smith, who is relatively local to us, but has been in the cleaning and facilities field for some time. So we're looking forward to that. And actually, just of late, we've had a big push, and since our Dominic Panaya episode, we have managed to get lots more what I would deem high profile guests within our industry to agree to come on. So we've got some dates coming in. I believe we've also got one next week with an interesting company, which I'm looking forward to bringing you guys to. So I'm going to be catching up with what I missed out on from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, because effectively I was away all those days today. And then, I'll have more footage for you guys the rest of the week, I promise. Catch you soon. How's it going, team? Tuesday. Not much on this week, to be honest. So today, we've got a couple of podcast guests booked for next week, and it's slowly picking up in terms of how many guests we're getting onto the channel. And to be fair, the channel itself is actually doing some really good views. It's not necessarily all on podcast episodes, but the channel in itself is doing around 60,000 views across our podcast episodes, our YouTube short, on YouTube alone. So it's really starting to pick up some pace. So for what I'll do to you today, rather than giving you a little update, I'm going to give you the top 3 things that I've learned by doing the podcast already. And we've got some really fantastic guests. And now that we're getting more high profile guests, other people are wanting to come on because they're realizing I'm actually not that bad. So the top 3 things that I've learned so far about the podcast. 1 is people. How you treat people. That seems to be a key skill that lots of the guests that we have on all emphasize. You've got to be able to speak to your team, your middle management, your customers, and build a rapport at varying different levels. It's no good being, oh, well, I'm the CEO and I've just got to make sure I hold the relationships here at the top level, or whatever it may be. You have got to have and build rapport with your team members, your management, and your customers. And that's difficult to do, juggling all that and working at different levels, but it's a key skill that you've got to master. The second part is being capable of dealing with lots of different issues and stress. I think that's part of having a business. 1 minute, you're out on site and you're actually doing the work with the team, at my level anyway. The next minute, I'm in a boardroom with a customer that's spending hundreds of thousands of pounds with me a year. And having the capability to make sure that you get in different areas and understand different areas is key. And that brings me on to my third point, teams will change over time, and you've got to be able to make a decision as to making sure you've got the right people in the right places at the right time. And Avin Ribeiro was the first person to say this, but he's not the last. The people that you start with might not necessarily last the whole journey. And I've got a little bit of a recent example of that. We've got a contract around the corner. We had a manager on it. Absolutely lovely guy, personally. Just didn't really fit on this particular contract. He done well for what he was there, but I think he just didn't really evolve into the role as we were expecting. So it just shows, the people that's at the start might not necessarily be at the end. And sometimes you've got to have a little bit of change of shift there, but that's hard to do, especially when you've been building rapport with people over a long period of time. And I had another guest as well that mentioned to me about when is a good time to invest, because I was speaking to him about us being at the revenue level we're at and where we want to go to next. And he was showing me a financial model to say, right, if you want to go from here to there, you've got to put money back into the business, i.e. spend. In my industry, that's going to be on people. Not quite sure what that looks like yet. I've still been dithering around with that one, to be honest, and need to be a little more decisive. But we've got some fantastic podcast guests coming up, and there's so much you learn, even in these conversations. You listen to a podcast and you take one good thing away from that podcast, it's worth spending an hour. And I've definitely had those moments with every single one of our guests, and I'm looking forward to doing that. I don't know, I might do a standalone video for that one down the road. But Wednesday tomorrow, plenty going on. That's going to wrap up Tuesday. I'm going to get back to it. I'll see you guys in the morning. Welcome to Tuesday, team JCD. I am down at HQ, as you guys can see. I have my summer garms on because the weather is very hot at the moment in the UK. It's about 25 degrees, and then when I am not out and about seeing customers, I obviously dress down because I don't need to be walking around in a branded JCD jacket with jeans and boots and things like that. However, I do have a guest coming down to JCD HQ today. We have Cowper-Smith. I've never met personally, never worked with him, but I've seen his stuff on LinkedIn and I'm impressed with what he does. He seems to have a great amount of knowledge of soft services, so it makes sense to get him up on the Cleaning Up Business podcast. So he's coming down this afternoon. I've just got down to JCD HQ. I had no internet for the last couple of weeks at home, and I had a BT engineer come out, fix that for me this morning. So that's all resolved. So now that's done, I've headed down here. I've got a few bits and pieces to do, some checks that have arrived on the doormat. Some people still do pay check, God knows why. So I've got to go and pay them in. Then Adam's going to be joining me about 1 o'clock. And then we're going to get our podcast episode down, which I'm super looking forward to because I haven't done one in a while, to be honest. But on that note, podcast. The podcast seems to be really picking up pace, which is good. Looking at the analytics of it, we're getting about 40,000 viewers across varying different formats of content in a month's period, which is good. You imagine 40,000 eyes on your business, on my business, your business, us, whatever it may be. It's great exposure, and it seems to be picking up as we get better and bigger guests. And on that note as well, we've recently confirmed some real big guests within the cleaning industry and some fantastic guests that everyone's going to want to listen to their story to. So I'm looking forward to getting those down. We've got one today, one Monday next week, and then I've got a couple of others lined up as well in the coming week. So there's plenty going on. So yeah, I'm going to head down the bank, pay these checks in, and I'm going to get this podcast put down. Let's roll. So we have just finished up our podcast with Adam Cowper-Smith. I thought it was Cower because it's got a W in it, but hey, you learn something new every day. Super insightful guy, lots of knowledge, lots of what I would call old school knowledge within the cleaning industry, and great to sit down with someone that has got that amount of knowledge to discuss their journey and advice for anyone that's trying to get in the cleaning field. So that's going to wrap up today. What's the time? Nearly 4 o'clock now. So Adam's packing up the podcast because we have got a guest in London next week. As I mentioned earlier on, we've got lots of new podcast guests coming up, which I'm really looking forward to getting out and about and getting back on the road with some new guests. So we're going to wrap up today. I will see you guys in the morning as always. Don't be late. We've got some contract visits to do. Peace. Yes, team. It's Thursday. And as you can see, we're at JCD HQ today. Not much going on, plenty of admin to do, so I'm going to be spending the day down here. A little bit of an update for you, those that you've been following since the start of our journey, because that's how long this has been going on for, certainly how it feels like. I had a call from Peugeot today. They've got the elusive part they need to start our van. So for those of you that don't know, we have another drainage van that's actually been with a main dealer since Christmas of last year, bearing in mind we are nearly in July. So they've had it for 7 months, and they've been messing about, it's been changed, and then they wasn't going to cover it, and all sorts of headache. But sounds like we are finally making progress. This particular part, they said, oh, we can't get hold of this part, bearing in mind this is the main dealer, Peugeot, for all of you, because I wasn't going to say it, I wasn't saying it at first, but it is Peugeot, just so you guys know what you're getting into. Main dealer, couldn't get this one part. I said, well, what part is it? Because I bet I can go online and find that part. Lo and behold, they sent me the part. I went online and could have it next day delivery. So I've made another complaint to Peugeot and I've escalated it, to be honest. I think I've been really patient with these guys. Haven't really banged the drum too much. But that van's been off the road. I actually bought another van because that one was off the road. So it's cost me, the lady said to me yesterday, well, you know, I said, well, I want some compensation. She said, how much do you think it's cost you having that van off the road? And it's tens of thousands of pounds, the late tens of thousands of pounds in terms of lost revenue, lost time, just general headache, new van that I've had to buy because the lady said, oh, they didn't give you a courtesy vehicle. So I'm paying for a van that I effectively haven't got. But sounds like the guy that's on it now, I'm dealing with one of the senior managers at this particular branch, he seems like he's on top of it. So I'm hoping we're close to the end and we'll get our van back, which will be timely because I've got a big project coming up. Paperwork's all sorted, got to get that back, and then hopefully we will get our van back. Because that van and the jet, even the jetter on that van, is probably best suited for this new role that we've got coming up. So yeah. Hoping to have that back pretty soon. So yeah, JCD HQ today, paperwork, mainly for some of the projects I've got coming up, so that's going to be a short Thursday, but I will see you guys for the final day of the week tomorrow, Friday. Yes, Team JCD, we've made it to the end of the week, Friday. Been an interesting week. We also had a podcast guest, Adam Cowper-Smith, actually a really nice guy, and he made some fantastic points on the podcast. So I'm going to do a final thought Friday, close out the week of this episode. I've been thinking this week, last few weeks especially, I've been trying to keep myself in more of a positive mindset. It's hard as a business owner sometimes with the ups and downs. You're not going to feel motivated every day, you're not going to feel positive every day, but I am a firm believer, and this may seem a bit, you know, a bit airy-fairy, but in the law of attraction or whatever you want to call it, you know, certainly I feel when I'm in a positive mindset and I'm feeling positive about things and try and fight them negative thoughts that come in sometimes, oh, this hasn't gone quite well or whatever it may be, that good things do happen. We've had that with a couple of the drainage bits and pieces. You know, I've been really positive lately. We've had some fantastic pieces of work come off. So you've always got to remember that whenever, you know, you're feeling a little bit down, you've got to try and drag yourself out of that and get back to a positive mindset, because I do believe what you put out is what you get back. So if you're putting out positivity, you're going to get positivity back, and that's what we want, and you're going to get the wins. So we're going to maintain a positive mindset. I've just been to the gym. I've got to get back into the gym. I keep saying it on the channel. I've got to get back into fitness, because that is a big help when it comes to your mental capacity and just making you feel generally better. I'm going to try and get in 3 days a week. I've been doing little bits here and there. I was doing well until I went away to Spain. 4 days of alcohol you know, enjoying myself, put me in a bad state for the next week, which I find it does, alcohol. You know, if I have a heavy weekend, the week after generally is well, not a write-off. I get what I've done. I get what I have to get done. But yeah, you know, in terms of actual motivation and putting my foot to the pedal, it's just generally not there the week after. So that's why I try and steer clear of it as much as possible. So yeah, keep positive. That wraps up this week's episode. Make sure, as always, you hit that like and subscribe button. I know the last couple of weeks it have been a little bit, you know, not too much going on, but we've got plenty of stuff coming up next week. We've got some podcasts next week. I've got some jobs to price at, and we have a special visitor at JCD HQ for 3 days. But I'll let you know about that next week. Enjoy your weekend, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in next week's We Are JCD.